Welcome back, everybody, to Devil's Advocate with Rosebud Baker. I am your host. You know me. I'm Rosebud Baker. Thank you so much. I want to start this podcast off, as I do every week, by thanking you guys for listening, for subscribing, rating, and reviewing the podcast on iTunes. It really helps get the visibility of the podcast out there, and just it helps me, build up an ego, which maybe I need it, maybe I don't. Anyway, thank you so much for listening and subscribing. I really, really appreciate it. It makes my day whenever I see your guys' feedback. And also, if you don't have iTunes, if you want to watch the podcast, this podcast is also available on YouTube. You can watch it that way on my YouTube channel, Rosebud Baker. And you can follow us on Instagram at devilsadvocatepod.atc. At the end of this podcast, we do a segment called Bad Advice with me and my guest. And if you want some of that, you can write to us at devilsadvocatepod.atc@gmail.com. And without further ado, I want to get started today. I'm so excited for my guest. She has a new album coming out. She is hilarious. And I'm so excited to welcome her, Sarah Tollemache, everybody.
Hey. Hi, Rosebud.
Hi, Sarah. How's it going?
Good.
Do you like my professional intro?
I do. Thank you. I never do intros when we have a guest on, and then I will talk with them there without telling anyone who they are. And then probably about 30 minutes in, we're like, oh, we should probably let you guys know who this is.
I've tried it both ways, and I kind of prefer it your way, but I also feel obligated to do like a whole thing. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. And then sometimes I forget how to pronounce people's names. Like if it's, those names like Caroline or Carolyn or.
Yeah. So you get caught up.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I start getting self-conscious. I'm like, do I know all their credits? Do I know I feel like I need to do some kind of fucking NPR intro.
Yeah. Oh, it's hard because I remember one time when when I first started in Houston, I was emceeing, and there'd be, I think it was Mitch Fatel, and he had a long intro, and I would always mess it up, and until like the end of the week, I got it right.
Yeah. And did he get bitchy about it? Was he pissed?
He was pretty nice, but here's this was funny and weird. At the end of the week, he came over and was like, did that handshake, and I saw money in there, and it was like, thank you for emceeing the week. And then he gave me $5, which I was like, what does $5 do? Like, are you my grandparents? Like, this is so funny. Like, because as an MC, you're like, it's not like I'm like, oh yeah, the headliners usually tip me out at the end of the week. Like, that's not a thing that anybody does. So it was such a funny and weird trait that he had.
Yeah. And it's also like the amount is what makes it weird. Like,
yeah, because nothing would be fine. But $5, you're like, $5?
$5 is kind of like a fuck you.
Yeah, I would be like, maybe a 20 would be a good start for that. But I guess he thought it was like a valet driver or valet parker or something.
I know. That's like what I give the Amazon guy like during a pandemic, which is actually pretty shitty. But I feel like $1 per floor. I'm like, that's fine, right? I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. I didn't even know that we were supposed to tip our Amazon drivers.
I thought we were supposed to, but then I didn't do that until the pandemic started, and we were like clapping for them at 7 p.m. And then I was like, okay, now we have to treat them like they're healthcare workers.
Yeah. It's just some dude that just like throws your package across the floor.
I know.
I never know where to tip. This was a huge debate online once in one of our Facebook groups is, do you tip your laundromat person?
No.
I said no, but man, that was a 50-50 thread of
really
people were like, of course you tip them. And I'm like, oh, I thought they were just getting an hourly wage. I don't tip them, but now I do because I'm like, well, they do touch my underwear.
Oh, yeah. There's also a
Yeah.
lot of like dog piss covered things that I'm taking down there now that I think about it.
I know,
Ever
but
since we
that
got the
one,
puppy.
yeah, where you're like, I thought, are we tipping everybody now?
What Facebook group is this? Is this like who do we tip on
You know who's,
Facebook?
I will call them out. I don't mind. And because I'm not like disagreeing with them, but Luisa Diaz was a huge proponent of the tipping of the laundromat.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. She does she has strong opinions. I'll give her
Yes.
that.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Is this like a Facebook? Is this the women's group on Facebook by any chance? Cuz that I haven't been
I
on Facebook in like 4 years, but I feel
Oh, that's
like
good. I
yeah.
like it. I still like Facebook. I don't think it was the women's group. I think there were some dudes back and forth in the thread.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
God, I'm learning a lot. See, I you can get into it on Facebook. It's amazing just the broad strokes of like what you can argue about. You know what I mean? Like the arguments can range from, and this is what I miss about Facebook is that the arguments, if you're looking to waste a day, Facebook is the ultimate thing
Yeah.
because you have people going to war about nothing.
Oh,
And
like debates like that, or like what's considered a sandwich? People consider a hot dog a sandwich, and that will like flip people out for full 24 hours.
yes, and I miss that a lot. I really do. It helped me kind of like, even as a comic, like, because I remember when I started comedy, I was like, one of my biggest problems was that I didn't really have an opinion about anything. Like, I was like, I don't really care about any of
Yeah.
this. But as a comic, you're supposed to have like a point of view.
Yeah.
And it forced me to kind of have a point of view about shit because Facebook, all of a sudden, the shit that never really mattered to me really mattered.
Yeah.
You know?
Definitely. Well, that is true that you do have to have strong opinions because then like what are we talking about on
Yeah.
stage? Yeah.
Yeah. And it was like, and as a civilian person who was just starting in comedy, I was like, I mean, who cares?
Yeah.
You know?
Where you're like, what's the big deal about calling a hot dog a sandwich? Although I don't really consider it a sandwich, but I don't really get upset about it.
Yeah. I don't really consider it a sandwich either. But if you're thinking bread and something in the middle, yeah,
Yeah.
I see where you're coming from for
Yeah.
sure.
That makes
So
sense.
so you have I want to start by saying you have an album coming out, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I
And
do. Tuesday, July 21st.
Tuesday, July 21st. Okay. And
Yeah.
where's it coming out? Where can people find it? And what's it called?
iTunes, Google Play. You can stream it on Pandora for free right now. It's Voluptuous Boy, and
Love
it's
the
with
title.
800. Thank you. It's part of a joke. I was going to call it White Lady, but then with BLM happening, they were saying that it might be too aggressive or whatever. And then out of context, it felt like a fuck you, which it
Yeah.
was really, that was part of a joke that I had that was really just like making fun of myself. But if you've
Mhm.
never heard me or you don't know me, then I guess I can see how you can construe it like that. So I was like,
Yeah.
I don't like drama, so I just went with Voluptuous Boy, which was like another joke that I had.
That's great. That's
Yeah.
great. I love it because it's like we come up with it's the news at least at this point in time. I mean, it's been like this for a while, but especially I think since the pandemic hit, when people are like enclosed in their homes and just watching the news and snorting outrage.
People are, yeah, they're angrier than ever. And I think a lot of it has to do with just being inside and not talking to people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It feels like everything is just heightened in a way that I can't quite keep up with. Like and I love getting angry. It's like one of my favorite emotions.
Yeah.
It
I think
really
it's
is.
addicting to get angry. Like being addicted to rage, I think is a thing.
It certainly is. I was actually talking to my therapist about this yesterday because I have not cried about the everything that's happened in I mean I literally last time I cried was like, you know, where like you cry until you feel like you got a massage.
Yeah.
I haven't cried like that since like October. And yesterday, for some reason, I just fully lost it. Like I think everything kind of piled up. I was like, I had this work thing come up, which we were supposed to record this yesterday. And then I had this
Yeah.
work thing come up and I like had to do that. And then I had this therapist and I just lost it. And it's the whole way that I lost it was him asking me, so why do you feel this way? And I just fucking flipped out. Like I could not, like I knew I was paying the man to ask me these questions, but he was annoying the shit out of me. I was like, can't we just keep it light? Like,
oh yeah.
Which is,
Yeah. I mean, they're frustrating too because they're like, well, how does that make you feel? And you're like, I don't know. You're the one that I'm paying you. Like, what is this?
yeah, you tell me how it makes me fucking feel.
Yeah.
I got so pissed at him. And I was like, what is the fucking point of working on myself? I'm never going to go outside again. Like, why does it fucking matter? And and in the middle of like losing it on him, I just started crying because I was, that's like my way in.
Yeah.
Like,
do you get angry and then that makes you cry? Because that's what happens to me. And that's why I don't like confrontation.
Yeah, I get angry and then, but oftentimes I never go to tears. I just like the anger is enough to sustain me and I kind of get off on that. Like, does this ever happen to you where you get angry and it's almost like you did a line of coke or something? Like, it's like you feel like everybody wants to listen to you. You feel like
get your heart rate up.
Yeah, you're like the most important person in the world for a second. And I really feel like that about anger. Like there's something about it that it gets me high.
Oh yeah. I mean, I know if I go, I'll get riled up and I won't be able to sleep, but then it turns into anxiety. So I don't like it. But I actually feel that way. Like, when you're watching, like sometimes I like to hate watch stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And like, when YouTube's like, oh, this is something that you might like, where I always feel like YouTube should also have a category for something that's like, oh, here's something that you'll really hate.
Yes. Yeah. Because most of the stuff that I watch on there, it's 50-50. It's like there's stuff that I really will love. And then the other half of my algorithm is stuff that I know I'll hate and that I can't stop watching.
Oh yeah. And then you're like, I can't believe I'm a person right now. I'm about to put a comment under a YouTube video.
Yeah. I truly have like do you ever respond to the comments under your videos? Because that's the ultimate sickness and I'm guilty.
I haven't done it on my videos, but if I get like somebody that actively goes to my Twitter and says something shitty, I will usually say something back and then block them.
Yeah.
Like just basically like suck my dick or nobody gives a shit about you. And then that's
it. Yeah. I think I told one guy, this was when like a year ago when my Comedy Central like digital set came out, somebody said something about, and I said, I will shit on your head. And my manager called and was like,
they saw it?
Yeah, my manager was because I was responding to everyone. I was going to war for myself. And I was like, I said, I'll shit on your head. I said, the only time you've ever made a woman laugh is when you've shown her your dick. I just completely
you're on a rampage.
Yeah, I started going nuts. And my manager called and was like, you look like you have nothing to do.
You're like, I do. I'm a stand-up. I have 8 hours of the day free.
I know. I was like, well, book me something.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't have anything to do. This is my favorite thing to do. And I love doing it. It's crazy.
Well, we get rewarded for it because it feeds the algorithm. So a lot of the times I'm always like, can somebody put women aren't funny under my Instagram post? Because then it starts an argument with comments and comments push your video up. So then if it gets pushed up, more people see it. So you're like, it's actually in the ecosystem that we've created. It encourages that behavior. And I kind of encourage it.
Yeah, exactly. And the internet doesn't appeal to people who are like people who are being their best selves.
Yeah.
they're not, nobody cares. I mean, even those people who are like influencers who are like, just be positive, today's your day. Like, it's like the people that are making those people popular are the ones who are shitting on them in the comment section.
Oh yeah, that's why anytime people are like retweeting Trump or the more you shit on the Kardashians, the stronger they get. Like those people that are haters, I always say that you do want a few haters.
Yeah.
Like you don't want anyone to look at you and be like, you want to evoke a strong opinion if you want to do well online.
Right, exactly. You want half the people to absolutely fucking hate you and want to hate you enough to spread the word.
Yes. Like, oh, right. I watched this dumb twat on YouTube the other day, and then people are like, I got to see this dumb twat, and then you're like, then it gets all these people watching, and you're like, well, I don't even care. Now you're like helping the cause, so it's fine. Like, exactly. I have a theory that's why Fox News is so popular. Is like half of it is also just liberals watching it, getting upset about it.
I mean, I'll watch Fox News just to, like, I'll convince myself when I sit down to watch it, I'll be like, I just want to know what they're thinking. Yeah. And then 5 minutes in, it's like that goal is gone. That's like, because they're so insane. And I don't know if you saw this week, like, I don't know why, but I haven't seen a lot of people responding to it, but the Trump administration, they asked for all the data about coronavirus to bypass the CDC and just go sent directly to the White House. And for some reason, I'm like, why aren't buildings on fire about this? Like, I don't know how.
No, I saw that too. And I suspect, did it happen on a Friday where they do a news dump? So by the weekend, you kind of forget about it?
Yes, it did. Yeah.
So I don't know why the left is like ignoring that side and not getting enraged. But there's so much shit that I feel like a lot of stuff just kind of falls to the cracks.
True. Yeah. Instead, we just sort of like freak out about Kanye running.
Yeah. That was like, that garnered more attention. Well, I'll watch like Rachel Maddow, and she's got Mary Trump, the niece of Trump, with the new book. And they were like, does he ever say the N-word? And you're like, of course he does. But I don't know why you think you're going to like, you're not going to have him downfall with this. Like, everybody knows that.
Yeah. And also I used to love Rachel Maddow, and now I can't stand her because well, as a comic, it's like word economy. You know what I mean?
Well, I get behind her ideas, but I cannot stand her delivery.
Yes. It's so like everything that they hate about us, you know, like the liberal elite, like, I'm so smart and you guys are so dumb.
And let me explain this to you. Or like, her humor is bad too. It's always like, really? Okay, really, Trump? Where you're like, you sound like one of those.
Yes, you're just like, come on. Like, you just sound so, there's nothing funny about being right.
Yeah.
You
Definitely.
know?
Yeah.
And she's so like, I'm so right. And isn't that funny? And it's like, no, it's not. You're patting yourself on the fucking back here.
Definitely. I like that she breaks it down for me on some stuff to know what's going on. But like, her delivery, I'm like, oh, I feel like she just tried to do a joke right now, and it just made me cringe.
Yeah. And you're a comic who, like, I think, and this is why, you know, not to like blow sunshine up your ass or anything, but like, this is why I respect you as a comic, is it feels like when you go on stage, you're the type of comic who, whether you agree with something or not, you would make a joke that is more of the conservative perspective, just because that's the kind of comic you are. And not even of a conservative perspective, but like, you could make a joke that's making fun of liberals because you're liberal, and you're just trying to go where the funny is, you know?
Well, I'd rather make fun of the absurdity of both sides, because I think we all hate both sides, and most of us stand in like the middle, and then it gets annoying that we're not represented, I feel like.
Yeah, or when we are represented, it's like, oh, you're a what do they call what do they call the liberals who are like middle of the road? Now they've like come up with a name for liberals who don't necessarily like either side.
Yeah.
Centrist.
Centrist,
And yeah, and they say that centrist people are dangerous. And
yeah.
and I'm like, oh, well, hold on a second. Like that, no, you know what I mean? I think there's a segment of centrist liberal people, or just centrists in general, who kind of actually have subscribed more to the right than they realize.
Yeah.
So I kind of get what they're saying, but I think you get into a really fucking dangerous place when you start labeling people and saying you're dangerous for seeing both sides, or for not subscribing to either side, because they're like, oh, you're on the wrong side of history.
Yeah.
And you're like, well,
but I vote the side that you want to vote for.
right.
So
yeah. I'm like, so
fine.
what is the problem?
I know, like, because that's the voting is the part that matters the most. So like, I still vote for your part, like the side that you want, like all the way to the other, the left. So I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't see the problem, but I just don't like, I think both sides are like hurting. And then there's like a way that annoys me that there's no discussion. And I feel like there's a way that we can discuss it and figure out a better way of like dealing with things, but you can't without it getting like too emotional. So I don't even want to deal with it.
Right. And it gets so like, it's so funny because when I saw that like lady in Central Park, that Amy Cooper lady, and she was like a liberal Democrat or whatever, I was like, this is exactly what the fuck I'm so afraid of, is like these people who are, they're by the book liberals, but they don't actually understand other perspectives. They don't understand who they are, and they don't really have an honest perspective on themselves. Like,
oh yeah, well, I think speaking for any other group that's not you is like outrageous, and like speaking on the behalf of others is like crazy to me, because I feel like a lot of people have their own voice, so it's like weird that you would feel like you could know better than what one group thinks when you're not involved in that group. So I find that to be insanity. Yeah.
Right. And it's happening a lot.
No,
it's
definitely
everywhere.
Yeah. So I just like to make fun of like the both sides. It's just easier for me to deal with it that way. Yeah. Well, because it's like, it's bonkers. Like all of it is so fucking crazy to me.
I know. When you put this out, when did you record this album?
I did it, I think March 8th. It was like the week before shit got real, because it was like a day-to-day business. I already had people that week that were like, I'm not going to be able to make your show because of COVID. And I was like, well, can you not put that on my Facebook wall and just keep it to yourself? Because I didn't want like this.
Can you not publicize that, please?
Yeah, I still need people to come to the show. Like, I don't want to do a show for 8 people. Yeah. And I don't want you to create fear. But it was really, at that moment, I still was like, okay. I wasn't really nervous about it. I felt like it was still kind of like a SARS thing where you're like, oh, I knew about SARS, but that never really like made an impact over here in the US. So I didn't think about it. But then as the week progressed, like, yeah, then it got like fucking scary.
Yeah. I remember being like, I remember in January, Andy, I was on a plane with Andy, and he showed me like an article about what was happening in Wuhan. And he was like, this is going to be global. And I remember looking at him and being like, you're such a fucking loser. Like,
yeah, you're like, whatever.
I was like, shut up, Andy. like being like you, because he does get really worked up watching the news. And I remember feeling like there's no way that how would you even know that from like one article?
Back in, we were starting, people like on Twitter were starting to make jokes around December, January.
Mm-hmm.
But it was still in the mindset of like, this isn't anything that felt like it was going to be a global thing. And then it just started, when I look back at the few comics that I saw taking it seriously, I get jealous that they had that insight.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I remember Jenna Friedman was like posting all the time on Twitter, like, am I the only one that is like scared shitless about this thing? And I'm like, whatever. Like,
yeah. We were all like, it's not coming here.
yeah, like big deal. Like it didn't feel like anything at the time.
Yeah. And then, so when you were recording the album, were you at all like, fuck, I hope this all like, did you basically have some sort of idea that you weren't going to be working, or were you like, we'll be fine after a month?
I didn't realize how long this was going to last. I think part of me thought it might be like a month thing, but then within a week of the month shutdown, I was like, this is going to be way longer.
Mm-hmm.
But in a weird way, I don't know what it is, but I kind of thrive in these moments.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like it's as long as you like treat it as a day-to-day thing. I always talk about, or Joe and I always talk about, like, is this anything affecting me now? And if there's anything, I can't do anything about it, so I might as well just like, it's fine. Like in my immediate time right now, there's nothing I can do and everything is fine.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
feel like for the most part, I tend to thrive during chaos. I tend to like, I know how to deal with chaos because it's such a step-by-step thing, you know?
Yeah. It's like I don't know. I feel like if you deal with anxiety, it's almost like you're prepared for it.
Right. Exactly. And I have a lot of experience with anxiety. The only thing is, do you feel like when, like, has there been a point during all of this where you're like, okay, where it kind of descends on you and you go, okay, there's nothing within my control right now. I can't like, and does that actually freak you out? Or have you pretty much been able to just maintain throughout all of this day by day?
Well, the first while I kept thinking that I was exposed to it, but then as time went by, like I just was like, oh, I'm fine and I'm not getting sick. And then I was doing all the precautions that you needed to do, but um I don't know. This is really weird, but I've been enjoying it because I like making videos. I like doing online social media stuff. I like doing
Mm-hmm.
podcasts. There's a lot of stand-up that I didn't miss. I thought it was a nice break. I was tired. Running around all the time, every day. It's a very lonely profession. And
Yeah.
I felt like I was more in touch with my friends and family than I had been in the past. So I felt like that was why my mental um my mental well-being was doing better. So
Yeah.
I've been like enjoying these moments, and now it's made me realize certain aspects of stand-up that when we go back, I think I might change. Like I don't think I'm going to take nearly as many spots or do the road unless I'm headlining. It's just as a feature, there's no money in it and it's so
Yeah.
pointless. And I think I can do spots within the city, and then I'm not going to do like, doing an hour and a half travel by train late at night to go do 10 minutes on a Brooklyn show that has 8 people because I feel like I need to. Like that
You
kind
know,
of fear that you instill in yourself.
I've started doing that already because in New York, there's like these outdoor shows.
Yeah.
And I've been, there's like a couple of shows that I was asked to do, like out in Brooklyn or whatever. And like, I'll be like, yes, because it's so ingrained in me to say yes. But then the night comes to go do it. And I'm like, no, I don't want to do it. Like, I don't feel like it. And I do think that we were all really, truly just burnt the fuck out. Like, as a
Yeah. And
society,
I
you know?
agree, because it's not just stand up. I think a lot of people were like, why are we commuting to work? And doing a commute in New York City, as your like first hour of your day, you're jammed up with people in their armpits. Everyone's nasty to you. It's
Yeah.
sometimes you deal. I one time took a train ride. I took the 405 Express to do a temp job on the Upper East, and there was this lady that just yelled in my face the whole time on the express train. And I was like, I cannot believe I'm
You're
starting my day off this way. And then I have to fold really expensive baby clothes that cost more than anything I've ever paid for in my entire life. Like, it was so insane. And it's
like
not
a
even
dystopian nightmare.
it's awful. One time my sister was telling me she was stuck on the F train and it was hot like it is here. It was crowded and it was stuck in between two stations for about an hour. And then everybody managed to like open the door and then squeeze out. And then she's just like out into the daylight and everyone's just like grasping for air. And then she was like, and then you have to go to work and then act like nothing happened.
Yeah. It's truly like getting assaulted every morning and then doing data entry.
Yeah. You just had abuse and then you have to act like nothing happened because we're all dealing with it. I find it traumatic sometimes. It's like there were tons of times like the train service is down and then you have to take alternative routes. I've been doing like 4 transfers to get to a job that I don't even give a shit about. Like,
oh my God. Yeah. I remember having an office job and literally getting same thing, screamed at. There was like someone who lived on the train.
Yeah.
And they were screaming in my face. I must have reminded them of someone. I don't know who I was in their reality, but I was not myself. And they were screaming at me like we had a history together.
Yeah.
And
you're like, what? And no one's helping you. No one's like, hey, can you kind of lay off of like like chill out? No one. They're just watching this happen.
Yeah, they're all just watching, and then you just get up and you like go to a different train. You're like,
and people see you deal with that. Like, wow, what was that? Me? Did I start that?
Yes. And then you get out, and it's like there's like a wild dog. You know what I mean? Or like there's cops that are watching that aren't helping at all, and you just get out and you walk to your job and you have to smile like
nothing happened. And then it's hot. It's like this weather right now, going to work in this weather is awful as well. Like you just have to act like nothing's happening. That's what your life is. And then but that's because everybody else is dealing with the same bullshit.
Yeah, there's a lot of shit that Corona has brought around for all of us that I think is really beneficial as a society, you know?
Yeah.
I think learning to talk to your family again, which for me, okay, I don't think that talking to your family is like the most healthy thing to do. I
think it is. Yeah, it definitely instigates shit.
It depends on who you are, but for me, it's like, I don't know why, but my reaction to my family is so, and they can be totally nice. They can be really kind. They're trying to be helpful. But like when I went to go visit my mom and my sister who have been staying together in Maine, I noticed that they were all like baby talking, and they'd been together for 2 months and they were all like truly speaking like toddlers to one another. And this is the first time that I brought Andy to meet them. And they were like, hey, will you pass it, baby? And I was like, this is Grey Gardens. I got to get out of here.
Yeah.
And it was like a nightmare. And I just feel like that's the exact kind of thing where even if I'm getting along with my family, there's some part of me that has to regress in order to do it.
I definitely, that's relatable. I don't know what it is about family or like hanging out with them. It doesn't, like, especially with your mom and your sister, you came a little late, so they've established their culture already. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then you're coming in. It's like going to meet up with your friends that have been drinking all day and then you haven't been drinking. And then you're like, I can't hang out with you guys.
That is the perfect example. Yes. That's the perfect example. You're like, okay, well, you're on a different plane than
You've got inside jokes that I don't know about. Yep. You have a history now, and then now I'm coming in, and then it feels like it's 2 against 1. So I bring a buffer. Yeah. I bring another person. I try to get my brother to be like, will you come?
Yeah. That's smart.
Or something, just so it doesn't feel like I'm like the third person out with that.
That's so smart. That is a really smart idea. I brought Andy, but Andy was looking at me. Andy was looking at me like, is this how it always is?
You're like, I swear. I don't, that's so funny. Like they started baby talking.
Yeah, I don't know where it came from. It was, I think they started by doing it to the dogs, and
Okay.
then they started doing it to each other. But I
Yeah.
really think that it is a sign of like when we're going through a collective trauma, how some people really regress into their old
Yes.
patterns. And I think for my mom and my sister, I think they both just kind of went back into like childhood patterns. And I remember I just refused to do it. Like they would do it to me and to Andy, and we would both just look at them. And I think it kind of registered with them that what they were doing was like ridiculous, and they just stopped.
Yeah. Well, that's like, remember that felt like a thing when like particularly girls, but I've seen guys do it too. And it's really weird when guys do it. They do it in a different way. It's not through the tone of their voice, but they pronounce words differently. I don't want to call him out, but I feel like Chris D'Elia, if you watch his act, he'll do baby talk.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
and
he's talking to his fans.
That's what I was like. That must be something, a way to connect on a level, something.
Yeah.
Because I've dated a guy that's also done like, he'll be like, for realsies. And I'm like, why are you talking like that? It's such a boner killer for me. Like, it's so weird. But yeah, that was a thing. And I felt like it was, and a lot of girls did it. And I felt like it was their way so they are not confrontational, but still got the things that they wanted.
Right. There's like and I mean, I'm sure that at a certain point in my life that I can't think of when it's happened, but I'm sure everything that I've ever made fun of, I've done on some level. You know what I mean? Like I can't think of who I've done it with, but like I'm positive that I've baby talked with like an ex because it was like it was a bond that was made mostly from projecting childhood shit onto one another, you know? Like,
oh yeah, I wouldn't doubt all of that stuff is like all of us have definitely done stuff like that. Like nobody's impervious to that. Like, I mean, it makes sense. Like I had a friend that would do it. She'd be like, Sarah, can I have a popsicle? And I'm like, just get a popsicle.
Oh my God. Yes. My best friend in Portland does that, where she'll go, I want to go to brunch. And I'd be like, I hate you. Like, I won't answer that. Like, I remember
then go to brunch.
Yeah. I'm like, so make a reservation. Like I would get so annoyed. And like, she'll do that where like, we'll be driving in a parking lot and she can't find a spot and she'll go, hello? Like, and I'm like, who are you talking to?
Yeah. My friend, apparently there was a rumor saying that people that were molested do that. And so I like to spread that as a fact. So because it's like a way to let people know that you were molested, that I'm like, that way they'll stop doing it. Where I'm like, oh, did you know like baby talk is a way to like, it's because you transgressed to the time that you were molested and that's why you're doing it. So you can be heard. And then they're like, oh, I had no.
I know. And it's like people who are actually molested are like, that's not true. And it's like, maybe it's not, but
yeah,
please.
We got to get these people to stop acting like babies.
I love that. It's like, who cares if it's true or not? The point is, these people need to stop. You need to put your trauma aside for a second so we can stop the world from baby talking. All right.
It was awful, but I feel like people aren't doing it as much as they used to.
I can't guarantee. I mean, I can't say that for sure. Maybe you're talking to people less. Maybe that
could be it. I wouldn't doubt it. I've done a lot of like, not cleaning out, but definitely of I'm tired of hanging out with difficult people. So I've kind of just like that, which is a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you noticed yourself making friends during the quarantine that you weren't friends with before?
There's a lot, like, not necessarily that, but I've been more outgoing, reaching out to people on social media of just kind of like, sometimes I'm like, Sarah, stop replying to everyone's shit. Like, but it's really, I'm like, we're at a cocktail party, right? Like, I'm just kind of, they're saying something and then I'm going to say something back. But then I'm like, you don't really know that person. And
I think it's fine. It's like, it's the only interaction that I'm having with people. So
yeah,
why not? You
yeah.
know?
Well,
I
it's
think
just
I
like
started,
fun.
I remember reacting. I responded to you on TikTok in the beginning of the quarantine.
You did. And then I was like, I haven't seen you since. So I feel like you stuck to your guns on that one. Or you're not, or like maybe you're not showing up on my For You. Actually, I never follow For You. I just go and I love to see random people more than people
No,
I know.
I truly have not been on TikTok. I follow you and I follow Usher on TikTok. And that's it.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
I don't. These are the only two people I follow on TikTok. I think I found like there was one hot pair of Australian twins that I might have followed. Just like these two hot dudes that
I have to check that out.
They spend way too much time with each other. And I was interested in finding out where that relationship went.
Yes. Twins are weird. I'm going to say that. Just
if
all
you
the
have
twins
a twin,
I've
get
observed.
rid of them.
Yeah. Do what you can, or at least start your whole new life without them. They're so enmeshed. It's so weird. I'm like fascinated with the Olsen twins.
Yeah.
And like, what a weird little world they've created for themselves.
The Lucas brothers too. And I'll say it to them.
Yeah.
I'm just like, what happens when you guys are apart? I want to know. Like, what goes on?
Are you quiet? Do you need each other?
Have you ever asked them which one of them you're talking to? I've asked them. I've been like, which one are you? And they won't answer. They answer as they. It's like they identify as they, even though they're two people.
And they're guys.
They're the only. They're the only like. It's not gender non-binary, but it's like
plural
non-binary. Yeah. They will not be. They won't be addressed as a singular person.
That is so funny to think of. Like, I call anyone that's transitioning, they like their pronouns to be they or twins. That's how that works.
Yeah. Yes. That'd be a fun time if I was transitioning, just to have a little period of time where I was twins with myself.
You know, so great. I mean, it's nice to have that friendship. There was a guy that was a bartender at the comedy club that I started at. He had twins, and I was like, "Is that hard?" And he's like, "No, it's actually easier than you think because they just play with each other. That you don't have to like worry about them."
Yeah, but that's a dude answering that.
I know. And then you're like, oh, that's probably how your twins get enmeshed, and then they'll never have their own separate lives.
For sure. For sure. And also, like, whenever I ask a dad how parenthood is going,
great,
I'm imagining I'm getting 25% of the answer as far as like how hard it is, because they're not breastfeeding. I mean, I would love to be a dad, but I don't want to be a mom. It's like,
I think being a dad would be the best parenting technique there is. If you were going to be a parent, I would prefer to be the dad.
Yeah, you get to still have your life. You get to leave the house. You don't have to worry. You're not like biologically, I mean, you are biologically programmed to care, but you're not, as a mom, you're just constantly, how do you think about your own life when you have like two human beings like literally suckled onto you?
It's so weird. I mean, just the idea of breastfeeding is like barbaric to me. Like, it's so weird to have a human being feed off of you that I feel like it's unnatural, and I'm not into it. It's not like I'm shaming women that are breastfeeding in public. Like, I don't give a shit. But like, for me personally, I'm like, how weird is it to fucking breastfeed?
Yeah. I wonder, like, I bet it feels kind of sexy as like the person who's doing it. But also, like, there's part of me that, I mean, I just go, I can't really imagine. Actually, I can imagine giving into that. Just being like, you know what? I'm going to rip a titty out in the mall and just fucking do this.
Be punk rock. It's very punk rock, I think.
It is, for
yeah,
sure.
to feed your kid out in the open.
Yeah. There's something about it that's like, I don't give a fuck. This is what I'm in a cave
Yeah.
woman in the middle of this mall. There's something about that that's kind of badass to me. I want to make sure that we get this in before, because I know you have to record your podcast next. So we do. I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, we do this segment called Bad Advice, where people write into me with like real world problems, and then we give them horrific advice, which I think you and I are uniquely qualified to give.
That's all I give, under the guise of good advice.
Yes, exactly. So here we go. This is from, oh wait, I'm not supposed to say who it's from. Okay. Hi, Rosebud. I love your work. I've really been enjoying both your podcasts. Thank you so much. I am in Pittsburgh meeting my boyfriend's 7-year-old daughter and outwardly mean ex-girlfriend, and I'm assuming baby mama, for the first time. As this is a tense situation and I barely know what on earth to actually do here, some advice would be appreciated. Thank you so much. Okay. So, 7-year-old daughter.
For the first time?
For the first time, meeting the 7-year-old daughter and outwardly mean baby mama.
Okay. What, is the baby mama going to be there? What a bummer.
I would imagine so. Yeah.
First of all, I'm like, don't date anybody with kids.
Yeah.
Until like the last minute, until like your 40s. But like, if you don't have to, don't
do it.
Don't.
If you're really running out of options, it's understandable. But
I get it. Yeah.
Yeah. I think if you're really like this guy and you must, because you're going through this with him in Pittsburgh of all places. It's not where I want to meet somebody's kid.
That's a very good point of like, if you're going to Pittsburgh, is this worth it?
Right. The backdrop of Pittsburgh was really what's bumming me out about it. If you were like, if you were meeting them, if you were meeting them in Palm Springs, I'd be like, well, you got the beach, you got the desert. You can just go out in the desert and fucking camp. You could have a great time. But if you're in Pittsburgh under quarantine, blech, disgusting.
Is this really, do you really love this guy?
You must.
I would be out before, if I just read that in his bio, I'd swipe. So I wouldn't even take this to the next level.
Yeah. I live in Pittsburgh. Okay, bye. Like, you didn't even have to get to the kid.
Yeah. Like, why are we doing long distance relationships during a pandemic? You got to keep it within a mile radius.
Absolutely. And then even then, only 6 feet distance. So
I would keep the girlfriend at the 6 feet, say that you're social distancing.
Yeah.
So always make sure she's in the back. Mm-hmm. The kid, nobody gets COVID from kids, apparently, it sounds like.
That's what I'm hearing.
Or for some reason, they're immune. They're like, I don't know, like little.
Yeah, they're like, it's from what I've heard, it's really not that much of a problem with kids, but you could say there's not enough research and make sure not to touch them.
Yeah.
You could just be like, look, you seem cute. You seem friendly enough for a 7-year-old, but I don't know how contagious you are, and I'm going to need you to stay over there.
Yeah. And then just be like, I'm pretty sure that dad has antibodies, so that's fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then that way they're always a little bit away from you. Right.
So, like, the way that I'm hearing this email is that she's trying to be accommodating. And I think what she needs to do is really embrace stepmom energy,
Yes. Don't commit fully. Try to see if they can hang out in the car while you go on your date at the Pittsburgh Mall.
Yeah. Just, you know what? Tie him up outside like a puppy.
Yeah. Just, roll down the windows. Keep
I'm
them
sure
tied up.
Pittsburgh is like a kids on leashes kind of city.
Yeah, definitely. Give them an iPad. Keep them occupied. I think kids and girlfriends love iPads.
Kids and girlfriends?
Give them an iPad each.
Kids and girlfriends love iPads, you guys.
They love it. I don't know. And then I'm assuming they're meeting at a mall. That's what I'm pretending.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm assuming that too. Even if it's even if the malls are closed in Pittsburgh, I feel like there's nowhere else to meet. So maybe a parking garage or
Yeah.
but nearby a mall for sure.
Or have like the mom and the daughter trail you in another car and go to a second location and then drive as fast as you can and take a sharp right out of nowhere and see if you can lose them.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I love
Yeah.
that. I think that's
Yeah.
the best idea. So you guys, yeah, if you're listening, if you wrote in, I want you to know, I think that's probably the best idea that we could come up with is that if you guys meet socially distanced from car windows and then you say, great, let's go find a spot that has outdoor dining and
Yeah.
you just floor it.
Yeah. Hit the
And
brakes on a red. I mean,
yeah,
not the brakes, the gas on a red. Run
hit
that
the gas on
light.
a red, hang a left and disappear. And
Yeah.
and you know, from there, if the guy that you're with can't hang with you and
Not the
doesn't
one.
have your back, not the one.
Yeah.
Listen,
And
if
then,
he
yeah,
if he loves his daughter more than you, he's not the one.
I agree because he's a dad. So it's supposed to be you and then his daughter. 60-40.
Yeah. And I'm speaking from experience, okay? That's experience with my dad and my stepmom. So that's the way it's supposed to be. And I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. Thanks for writing in.
Thanks for writing in. You guys, Sarah, this was so fun. Thank you so
Super
much.
fun. This is
You
fun.
guys
Thank you.
definitely keep an eye out for Sarah's album coming out. When is it?
Tuesday, July 21st.
Tuesday, July 21st on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, all those places where you can get your albums. And it's called Voluptuous Boy. She is so fucking funny, you guys. I cannot recommend getting her album enough. One of my favorite comics and one of the funniest comics I know. Please, please, please put it in your calendars, July 21st. And Sarah, where can they follow you?
Twitter or Instagram. It's the same at Tollemache, Stollemache.
Okay, awesome. And you guys can follow me at Rosebud Baker on Twitter and Instagram, and on and you can follow the podcast at Devil's Advocate Pod.atc on Instagram. And thank you so much again, Sarah. I appreciate it. This was really fun.
It was a good hang. Maybe Zoom hang. Do you do social distancing? Or you can stop recording if you want.
Yeah, hold on.
I'm like, they never want to hear like the outside, like, oh, what kind of mic do you